Shaw's post-match comments, I think he sort of stuck it up a few people. He'd been copying it for a while, I think born off the back of an incident during the 2003 Grand Final when he was at Collingwood, but he's been a massive pick-up for you, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. I mean, he's another one that's brought some great run to our team, and he's in our leadership group as well, and he knows his footy. Coming from such a great football family, that's probably a given, but he loves his footy, and his ability to play on those, once again, those dangerous smalls with there seems to be a lot of them around in the opposition forward lines, and he's able to do that week in, week out, and he's very good one-on-one. I think that's probably something that people underestimate. In a one-on-one situation, he's very good. We've even put him forward at times, and he's hard to beat in a one-on-one situation, and his run, everyone knows that's his strength, and he was able to give us both of that.
Another bloke they've just discovered down here, horses, Lewis Roberts-Thompson. I've been talking about him for a week as well. But again, outstanding. Just his contribution, certainly in the back half of the year and in the finals, and I thought really significant, particularly in the last quarter when you put him back as a loose defender. I thought that was a really significant move.
Yeah, he's one of those players that, he was centre-half back for us for a long time and did a great job playing centre-half back. And obviously when the sub-rule came in, we needed to explore other areas in regards to our ruck, and he was able to play a forward second ruck role. He's been able to kick goals. I think he kicked 3 or 4 against Brisbane a few years ago, or a couple of years ago. He's able to play a number of different roles. He's really athletic. He's got great endurance, and he's quite quick for his size. He's good below his knees. But most of all, he's a competitor, and he's able to play either a forward role, defensive key role, or in the ruck. So that flexibility during the course of the game, and obviously when we lost Mumford, he was going to do some ruck work if we needed to give Mike Pike a rest in that last quarter.
We marvel at the way your club's been able to put the polish on players given away by other clubs. I want to ask you about Mitch Morton shortly. Before, I was really interested in his comments after the game about playing in a premiership team. Let's listen to that.
Look, halfway through the year, I was very close, but I'll be honest, the players didn't trust me. I had stuff to work on. And from that moment on, when I found that, I just gave my heart and soul to this club, and they paid it back in spades.
An amazing admission, John, that a player says his teammates didn't trust him.
Yeah, he was kicking a lot of goals in our reserves, and that was no surprise. He's a classy player, and he was kicking a lot of goals, and we discussed him at match committee quite a number of times about bringing him in before we did, and the players gave him some feedback, and they wanted him to work on some areas that didn't involve kicking goals, and they were quite strong in that feedback and direct and honest, but they also gave him a bit of a roadmap to how to do it, and he was able to do it, and then it was only a matter of a few weeks later they were belting the door down, saying we've got to play this bloke. He's doing everything we want. We think he can add to our team. And when you get your leaders coming into match committee saying that, we picked him. And I thought his first final over in Adelaide was really strong. He played really well, even though that was his first full game for the year. And his second final against Collingwood, even though he didn't hit the scoreboard, he was able to lay 7 or 8 tackles, and he was always going to play in the grand final. I thought his contribution was really sound.
Mike's still building up some courage, John. He's got a question for you about Kurt Tippett. I'm not sure if he's going to share it with you again after he gave it one try early in the piece. But can I just ask you about stoppages? 120 stoppages. David King had a theory going in, and it stacks up in some ways. That you haven't won at the MCG enough because you've never produced a game with enough stoppages there. 120 stoppages, you won the game, and the stoppage count was pretty high.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's about, in fact I am sure it's not about the number of stoppages, it's more about the number of tackles, and no matter what ground you play on, you've got to make sure that your pressure's right, and I just simply don't think our pressure's been anywhere near good enough at the MCG, and it's a pretty simple equation. Our tackle pressure hasn't been up to standard, and on the weekend we had 110 tackles, and for our internal stats here, we do some internal stats, and they were through the roof. They were the most we ever had on the weekend with our pressure stats. So it was about our tackle, our pressure, our smother, our defensive work was really what helped us. And we saw what amazing stats that Hawthorn had. And I think that pressure combined with kicking straight, I guess, were two of the areas that helped us get over the line.
During the year, Horse, you never look forward too far, but have you had a chance to sort of look back now and say, look, that was probably the game where I felt our best is good enough to win a premiership? Was there a game that now stands out for you where perhaps in hindsight you thought, yeah, I reckon we can win this?
It wasn't until probably about halfway, Reezy. I mean, we played Essendon, I think, down at Etihad Stadium, and I think our first half was really good. They came right back in the second half, and I thought if we can sustain that over a bit longer period, that'd be a real positive. We played Hawthorn earlier on the year down at Launceston. We played well for a half, and I thought we were just starting to get it. And during that period, there was also some basic training drills and some training sessions that we were able to put together a few times on end that I thought they're starting to really see themselves as a bit of a chance. And when you see yourself as a chance as a player, you start to do things right consistently on a week in, week out basis. And it was probably about the halfway point of the year. I thought they're starting to think they're a chance to be competitive against the best teams, but you still needed things to go our way.
Be careful, Mike. You saw what happened to Alex Johnson.
John, you've had long enough to celebrate the premiership. Now we've got to look. It's the first day of your preparation for next year. Now, there was a suggestion on the radio in Melbourne this morning that the Swans may be interested in Kurt Tippett. Have you heard that? Is it true? Are you part of it?
I have heard that, but can I at least wait till tomorrow, Mike? I mean,
I liked your original reaction, John. It was much more entertaining.
You're well within your right to give him a mouthful.
Come on, have another go. Say what you said in rehearsal, Horse.
I wouldn't say that to you, Mike, on air, but no, look, I'm taking a deep breath for 2 days at least, and then I'll wake up tomorrow morning and walk in here and we'll get stuck into what we need to do.
Let's take a look at the headlines, Mike, before you try to press John any further. Well, they saw in the Sun Herald today. Victory for the Sydney Swans on Sunday, I should say. Great coverage. The Sunday Telegraph, Sydney 1, Melbourne 0. Well, Melbourne squared it up, I guess, with the Melbourne Storm yesterday.
They did. Now, sorry, John, there's one just before you go. Ted Richards had the biggest job in the game going in, and you played him on painkillers. Now, as we understand, we read down here, he had an injection every 10 minutes during the game. So, how bad was the ankle?
I think it was every 10 minutes because
no, that
I
was joking, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, what I do know is that I spoke to the players at quarter time, half time, three-quarter time, and he wasn't there. So, he was obviously somewhere else. And he's going into the game. He was he never had any doubt as far as not playing. He was always going to play. And it was just a matter of how well he was against probably the most agile big man in the competition that's maybe ever played the game. And I thought he hung in really well. I mean, Buddy was playing really good football. As we know, he's a champion of the game. And I thought he did some important things, particularly in the last quarter. He won a couple of one-on-ones that was critical. And, his ankle's pretty sore today and pretty swollen, as you'd imagine, but luckily we don't have to play.
When you put your head on the pillow on Saturday night, John, what was your final thought?
It was enormous relief and enormous pride in what the players were able to do, Jared. I kept on rehearsing the moments in my mind, the Marty Mattner tackle, the Daniel Hanbury running back, into an opposition ruckman. Some of those things that just go through your mind that are the real hard stuff that you just, are really pleased with what your players were able to deliver on the biggest stage.
We have now joined Worsfold, Malthouse, Sheedy and Chris Scott. You're the fifth current coach to have coached a premiership and played in a premiership. John, you've been a star all year. Congratulations and thanks again.
Good on you. Thanks very much.
Well done, Horse.